Amy and Nancy Harrington are leading us off today. They are the co-founders of the Passionistas Project. I cannot tell you what a gift it is to be part of the Passionistas. We're going to call that a sisterhood. And, it's just incredible. They're going to talk about how letting go of their view of success, my goodness, let's all think about that. It led them to find their purpose. How cool is that? The quote they're sharing today is everything happens for a reason. Betty Harrington shared that. The book, Love Notes and Prayers, Guidance for Your Soul by Dr. Melissa Bird. Hey, Dr. Melissa Bird, if you're listening. And also Awakening Your Power. It's an anthology that these two beautiful women have put together. And the word they'd love for us to reflect upon is amplify. Amy and Nancy, welcome.
Hi, we're so happy to
Hello.
be here this morning, Carol.
Uh, this is just, it's my complete pleasure to introduce you to listen and soak up what you all are going to share with us today. I'm not sure, I'm not sure where you're going to start, but I want the audience to know that these two lovely ladies, sisters, and they'll tell more about the rest of their family in the story. These two work to empower women globally and especially marginalized women. And I so appreciate that that is your passion and your project. Thank you for being here and for sharing just straight from your hearts. And take it away.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. What we want to start with today is a question for everyone to reflect on, because it's a question that Amy and I have asked ourselves and had to face many times during our lives. The question is, what do you do when the life you've worked so hard to build stops feeling like it belongs to you?
Mm.
Right. So for us, that moment didn't come out of nowhere. It really started back in childhood. You mentioned our family. We grew up in an extremely creative family. Our parents met in art school, and our family imagination was currency. We were raised to make things, dream things, perform things. So of course, we both ended up in the world of entertainment. We ended up in movies and theater and writing and all sorts of amazing creative things. And it felt natural. That was the right path because we were two girls who grew up living for stories.
Yeah, and so like Nancy said, that drove us to being in the world of entertainment, and our dream of working in the movies and in that business came to life really quickly. I moved out to Los Angeles. We grew up in Massachusetts in a small town called Braintree, and I moved to LA first, the youngest of five kids, and first to leave the state. And I became a TV and film employee. I started working on television shows for MTV and Viacom and CBS. And then I eventually became the first woman in the history of the film industry to be vice president of post-production and visual effects for a feature film for a major film studio. So I worked at Warner Brothers on over 250 movies, including the early Harry Potter movies, couple of Batmans, the Matrixes, and everything in between. And I planned to stay at the studio and make movies and visual effects and post my entire career. I had no designs on ever doing anything else. And meanwhile, Nancy was carving her own creative path.
Right. I stayed back in Boston. I stayed close to home for a long time, but I was running a theater company. We had a theater in Boston's theater district for 2 years, right next door to the Schubert. It was a dream come true, and I helped develop 6 original musicals.
Mm.
It was an exciting and exhausting time because I was also still running my graphic design business as well. But eventually I moved out to Los Angeles. Amy finally convinced me. We had been apart for 10 years and we couldn't stand it any longer. So we moved. And that's when I started working at an ad agency that did the Academy Award campaigns for Miramax and Paramount Classics. And then from there, our worlds merged. Amy and I left our big jobs and started working together. And we fell into the world of celebrity interviewing, where we worked for our own website and also for clients like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the Television Academy Foundation. And here we are, 16 years later, we've done more than 1,600 interviews throughout the years. And we've
Wow.
talked to everyone from our childhood hero, Dr. Jane Goodall, to TV icons like Julia Louis-Dreyfus and rock stars like Mick Jagger. So run the gamut. But one thing struck us every single time we talk to someone is that stories matter, that stories open people up. They change how we see ourselves and they show us what's possible.
But even while our entertainment careers were thriving and we were doing things that people would be envious of, and we were loving it, something started to shift. And we were doing everything right. We are Catholic school girls. We play by the rules. We don't shake the boat. And we'd achieved these things that we were supposed to achieve and beyond anybody's wildest imaginations. But the spark that used to be our guiding light started to dim.
Mm.
And like a lot of high achieving people, I think especially women, we ignored the signs for as long as we could that we should maybe be doing something different. But we just told ourselves to push through, be grateful for all the opportunities that we had. We were so lucky, which we were, but it was a lot of hard work. And just to keep performing at that level that everyone expected us to perform at. But deep down, we were quietly feeling this misalignment individually and together, and it just wasn't going away. It just, I'm sure some of you have felt that it just sits there and it grows. And first it taps you on the shoulder, and then it shoves you really hard toward the door until you kind of don't have power to make the decision anymore. The universe or whatever higher force you believe in is saying, like, no, no, it's time for you to move on. And that's what happened to us.
Yeah, we finally had to get honest with ourselves. The career, those careers, amazing careers that people envied from the outside looking in, um, they didn't feel like home anymore. And that realization, that admission, that was our first real act of surrender.
Mm.
And like you've been saying the last few days, and all of your speakers have been saying the last few days, it wasn't about giving up. It was letting the truth finally have a seat at the table.
Mm.
And it wasn't a big dramatic leap. It wasn't like, the next day we changed our whole lives, but it was a bunch of small, brave steps that we took. And the first was admitting that what we were doing wasn't aligned anymore. We wanted to release that constant pressure that we had to prove ourselves to people, to ourselves and to everybody around us, and that we were, running some race. We wanted to give ourselves the quiet to hear those voices inside that were frankly being drowned out by our achievement, you know. And finally, we had to let go of what success was supposed to look like, right? Everyone thinks success is the money and the cars and the vacations it's not success, right? Success is being in alignment. So in that quiet space, something we didn't expect happened. Clarity showed up.
Yeah. And, we realized that at the core of everything we have ever been passionate about was this love of storytelling that we know Carol can absolutely relate to. But it had evolved. What originally was storytelling in the form of blockbuster movies and developing plays and creating marketing campaigns for studios and drawing out celebrities' life stories through interviews. So those were all amazing, and we are eternally grateful for those experiences. But what we realized is our passions were shifting in relation to that core, core desire. And, we were being drawn to having conversations with people that weren't the ones in the glow of fame. We wanted to really start to celebrate the women who were not getting the spotlight and the attention they deserved. So it started in the middle of the night, waking up from a dream and realizing that what we needed to do was start the Passionistas Project podcast and to have those real conversations with women about their challenges and struggles, but ultimately what they considered success, how they redefined success for themselves, and how they could inspire other people to follow their passions the way we were doing, the way they were doing. And so, but at the core of that, it was really important to us that we were doing that for the women who are the most overlooked, the most underestimated, and frankly, the ones who are the most resilient and full of grit because they have to fight every day. Um, and so that just came naturally, this idea of having a podcast, and we weren't forcing anything. And we weren't saying, oh, we have to do this to get a deal with some big podcast company and make a gazillion dollars. We did it as a side project out of a love of helping women tell their stories. And in doing that, we ultimately cracked open what was to become our entire purpose in life without ever expecting it to lead to that. Um, so, we became not only the story lovers we've always been, but really deep listeners.
Mm.
And, in that moment, that some people might dismiss as ordinary, those stories where people say, oh, it wasn't a big deal. I didn't it was just this little thing I did. It's like, no, those are the moments where greatness happens. And frankly, that was the kind of moment we had in finding ultimately what our purpose in life is. It was this little idea that now has become this huge movement.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and our purpose is 100% clear. Like we don't have a doubt. We attend a lot of things in our community where we're helping women find their purpose, and so we're constantly asking people that question. And it's like when we ask that ourselves, it's like, no, our purpose is 100% clear. We are here to support women, especially women in marginalized communities. We want to help them tell their story. We want to help them know that their experiences and their voice matter and that their authentic voice is needed in this world. And we create spaces where they're celebrated, they're not edited down, and we give them a platform where they can be heard. And every part of that work feels like what we were, all of the experiences that we have had throughout our entire careers has all come together to give us the background and the knowledge to do the work that we are doing, which feels like it's what we've meant to do all along.
Yeah, and
Mm.
it didn't happen because we chased it. It didn't happen because, we were holding on to dear life to these identities that we created that everybody expected a certain version of us. It just showed up when we surrendered what frankly wasn't ours anymore. And we let go and made room for what was truly our purpose. And really, that's the heart of our story. It's not how we reinvented ourselves. A lot of people reinvent themselves, but the fact that we got honest enough to let ourselves evolve. And once we did that, everything clicked into place.
Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
So I want to go back to that original question. What do you do if the life that you thought you built and worked so hard to build doesn't feel right anymore? And we just want people to know that you're not failing, you're changing, right? And that change needs space. And that surrendering into that space isn't a weakness, it's wisdom, right? It's saying, I trust myself enough to stop forcing what no longer fits,
Mm.
right? And your purpose might be waiting on waiting in the space that letting go creates.
Mm. You know how much I appreciate you too. And first of all, you never know what you're preparing for. I
Right.
mean, throughout growing up in your household of creatives, and then I know that you had this idea of success and you good for y'all, and you were successful in your different fields, and then you're moving along and not feeling right, thinking, okay, what's this nudge? I think that you said a few things that I want to highlight for everyone. And one was, it wasn't that you didn't feel the nudge, but you made the surrender step to admit this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing anymore.
Mhm.
And to say that out loud, even, and I know how you two trust one another. And
Yeah.
I'm sure that's where that came out loud first to one another. And
Yes,
like, okay, what are we
absolutely.
going to do with this? But then the next step was to trust and say, okay, now this money situation is changing.
Mhm.
The money's not coming to us. We're getting ready to start investing and pouring out.
Yeah.
And so then you had that step. You had to surrender and trust. Take that step. Then you had to trust. Well, I don't know. Y'all were, let's say in the middle of this, what everyone would look at as glamorous Hollywood,
Mhm.
starlit world, right? So you did have some people to say, hey, get over here. And however, those were not the people y'all went to.
No. In fact, we shut them out completely.
That is what I wanted to make sure that everyone hears. They didn't go to these high profile, amazing people that they so appreciated.
Mhm.
What was that? You stepped out. Who did you call first?
Who do we call
You
first?
know, we have a dear friend. His name is Barry Snyder, and he was a co-worker of mine at Warner Brothers, and he left the studio around the same time I did. And when it came time to like, oh, we got to figure out what we're gonna do, um, we called him because he is a connector of people.
Uh,
He loves it more than anybody. He's actually the one that helped us get the Jane Goodall interview, like our dream interview. But we
Very
called
cool.
him and we sat down and we were like,
Yeah,
we're not really sure. We were working with some people on some projects, but they weren't really going away. But beyond that, literally every single person I worked with at the studio, I just wanted to like start a new life. I did a clean cut. I have seen maybe five of those people since I left. And I've never asked any one of them besides Barry for a favor. Um, and so we really relied on each other more than anything else. Like we were like, we're gonna figure this out. And we gave you guys the nutshell version. We took a long and winding road to
uh,
get to where we are and did a lot of bizarre jobs. We would get phone calls from people and it would be like, yeah, okay, we'll figure that out. And people talk about the year of saying yes. It's like we had 2 decades of saying yes, I was like, yeah, all right, we'll do it. So, yeah, it was really just us being persistent and going with the flow and figuring it out.
And
well, I
it's
love,
still to this day, right? It's still to
yeah,
this day. We surrender every day. We're like, we get phone calls that are, oh, geez, that's not good news. But
right,
whatever's supposed to happen is going to happen, and we're just going to keep
right.
going, and we're going to trust that the money is going to come when the money comes, and the connections are going to lead us where we need to go. And so, I mean, we surrender every day. It's not like we have it all figured out and we're done, things are good.
Well, and I appreciate that because that's what we're talking about here. Yes, surrender, but it's the practice of it.
Mhm. Yeah.
And like you said, it's a decision.
Mhm.
And the beautiful thing to surrendering, just like you said, to reach out for help. You made that one phone call.
Yeah.
You surrendered to make it. I mean,
Yeah.
every time we reach out to whether it's to one another or to our family members or, our associates, doesn't matter.
Mhm.
That takes a surrender. I'm just going to be at peace where this goes and I'm going to make this phone call.
Yeah.
I'm not going to judge the person I'm calling, meaning I'm not going to judge them and think about 500 things they're going to think about me before I make the phone call. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I don't know what age this practice of surrender started for you all.
Mhm.
However, I'm 110, and being 110, it started late for me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about y'all. I mean,
Oh,
I
yeah.
had a lot of the nudges before I said
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
too, y'all did as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I was in my 40s when we started Pop Culture Passionistas, when we started the interviewing work. And I was well into my 50s. I mean, what have we been doing? 8 years? Yeah, I'm halfway through my 50s when we started the Passionistas project. So it took,
Yeah, I mean, and another reminder, it's not, yes, the practice, but number one, you had this, you weren't in alignment.
Mhm,
And then the next thing is, so you were in awareness. However, from awareness, you had to get to admitting,
mhm,
then you had to get to surrender, which led you to trust.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go through that. But as you said, it's daily. It is daily. And you get a call, as everyone listening, every one of us does. We
mhm.
get those calls, and it's like, what? And then the mind, which is where all the trouble is, right between the ears. Here we go. And it's like, whoop, come on back. Let's surrender.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
think about all the times it's worked out and better
Mm.
than we ever dreamed.
yeah.
I so appreciate, and I do want the audience to know, I have to say that, and I've told Amy and Nancy this before, they encourage curiosity and understanding in a beautiful way. And I want to tell y'all how much I appreciate that about you two.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
We appreciate that about you too, and that means the world to us. I'm trying to keep it together right now, to be honest. I think surrendering is easier when you know that you have support. And what we've built in our community benefits us more than it does anybody else because we get to benefit from it every day. We're the hosts of the greatest party on the planet with all these women who just want to be there for each other and lift each other up. And so, if I'm being honest, when did I really surrender? Really learn how to surrender was a year and a half ago when we started
Wow.
the Passionistas Project Sisterhood. And I knew that there were people who had my back,
Mhm.
Wow.
you know.
Oh, and I'm sick. Yeah, I do not like ending these conversations, but I'm going to throw out this real quickly. And it is a truth. And we need to post this. When we take care of ourselves, it's a gift to others.
Right.
But the gift of helping others is completely a gift to ourselves.
100%.
100%.
And I thank you, Father. I love how that works out. You know, I
Yep.
love it. I so appreciate you all,
We love you.
everyone, audience, as always, but all the ways to learn more about these amazing sisters and connect and all the things is being shared. And I just appreciate you both so much.
We
Thank
love
you.
you, Carol, and your whole team is amazing. And thank you for having us at this really special summit. We're so grateful to be a part of it.
And I'll see y'all soon.
Definitely.
Okay.
Okay. Bye,
Thank you.
everybody. Thanks.